Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bad Tempers and Bolder Takes. My name is Zach the Bold, better known online as Zach the Bold, in person as Zachary Ronaldo, and it's good to be back. Thank you guys so much for the support in the last video. Things are super good, back with the podcast. I've had a little bit of a rough creative week. It's hard to come up with ideas sometimes, and there'll be like weeks where I have 1,000 video ideas, and then other weeks where I have 0. And I had one that I'd been working on this whole week, and then I put it together, and it was a 2-minute long video, which, isn't the worst thing in the world. And a lot of people like the longer short form videos and whatever, but it was a little too wordy. It didn't work out, and I was messing with it, and then I needed to re-record some things with it, and it just turned into an entire mess, and I lost the image of what it should have been. So before I forget, which I have a tendency to do on this show, I do have to shout out that I will be at Gen Con. Gen Con is coming up. I'm looking at the countdown right now on the website in 18 days. So if you're coming to Gen Con and you're going to be there Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, me and a couple other creators will be talking about a system agnostic TTRPG supplement book. And if you don't know what that means, like I didn't when it was first explained to me, it was a book made for a TTRPG, system agnostic, meaning that it can be used in any system to what I assume any extent. And pretty much so in any way it can be put with 5th edition or Pathfinder or Pirate Borg or whatever else. Shout out Pirate Borg. Or Daggerheart, anything like that. So it's been super cool to make that. Mine is, I made a little one-shot in the book. I know a couple other creators made like items and rules and factions and things like that. But I was very inspired to make like a John Carpenter's The Thing X, Lonesome Road, Fallout, New Vegas DLC combined kind of short one-shot. So we'll be talking about that. The other thing is that there's tickets right now, totally free, but you do have to reserve a spot. It's going to be in meeting room 8, Friday at 4. Make sure to reserve your tickets online. The link will be in this description, so make sure to check that out. Pretty much it's just a big Q&A. Last year, it was walking around Gen Con was super cool. I met a bunch of people. It was super great. If I say super one more time, dude, I'm going to rip this shirt off my body. Relax, okay? It was awesome to meet a bunch of people at Gen Con. I will be walking around, but as I've learned, as the channel continues to grow, I sometimes get in the way of other panelists that are around at MagicCon. I was hogging. I accidentally started a line sideways across all the creator panels, and a couple of creators came up to me and they were like, "Can you move? Actually, I have a line." So. And then I was at the Renaissance Fair, and I'm just getting noticed a little bit more. So we'll see how it goes at Gen Con. Feel free to say hi to me if I'm walking around the floor at Gen Con. But I don't want to create a fire hazard or something like that around the Gen Con floor. So if you want to be guaranteed to see me, go and get the tickets right now for the Scorched Basin. I'm looking at the actual title. I know what I'm writing. I know the title of what I'm writing, okay? Presenting Scorched Basin, a system agnostic setting. It says by Zach the Bold and more, but trust me, it's been a very collaborative effort in making this book. So if you want to guarantee to see me, make sure to check that out. Link in description for that. So there, I did my I did my homework. It's been a little slow week in the news world of Dungeons & Dragons. Oh my gosh, who would have thought anything like that? But I can successfully say that I got an ad for Eberron. Looks like they're pushing the Eberron thing a little bit more, which is great. I guess people will see that D&D is still making things. It's not just new rules. And I'm excited for it, but I said in the last podcast too that it's pretty much just a supplement that won't add any campaigns, and I get more excited for campaigns than I do getting a class that we had for 10 years that should have just been in the player's handbook. Let's be honest, right? I just want to make sure everything's working. Still having some technical difficulties on my end. It's always audio. I have a light, like I have a big light. I have a FC 500B for Nan light for all my film bros out there. All the fake film bros and all the fake blue collar workers that I'm talking to. There might be some, okay? You never know. I like to address them. But I don't know if it's because I'm in a smaller room. I used to record in the living room of my last house, and that's why it was like a little bit bigger of a set. And now I'm in a very condensed room. It's an office, and the humming is loud. There's a fan setting on it, but if it goes above 50%, it will explode if it's on the low fan setting. And right now with this mic, the Shure mic, it should be fine. But I use a Sennheiser mic on my Sony A7C. Again, if you're not in the film world, you won't really care about these specs. But a lot of people ask me all the time, hey, what do you record with? What is the stuff you use? So I use a Sony A7C, a Sennheiser mic. But right now I'm using a Shure, whatever podcasters use, right? You see this microphone in every podcast. I don't know the name of it right off the top of my head. It's an SM7DB. Anyways, that might not be the name, but it's there. And I was dealing with that too with the last video I made. If it's not one thing, it's another, right? Like I'm trying my best to make everything look like as cinematic as I can possibly make it. And then Mr. Audio shows up and I just can't get it right, dude. I can't get it right. I also look up these tutorials online of how to make my audio better. And then it'll be some guy that's like, this is what your audio sounds like right now. And he sounds like totally fine. And then for me, it sounds worse. So I'm like, do I have a worse ear for audio? Because he changes it. I have to remember, I'm really bad with sentence structure and subjects and predicates, and I'm trying to get better, all right? So I want to make sure that if I talk, I have a subject that I start with and a predicate at the end, all right? When they make the video and it's audio at the beginning, it sounds fine to me. And then when they're like, this is what you can make the audio sound like afterwards, that sounds bad to me. For color correcting and lighting and everything like that, subject, anything film related, I feel like I have a good eye for it, right? But when it comes to audio, maybe not so much. I've never really been an audio guy. Is there anyone else who just listens to music but doesn't listen to lyrics? People say all the time, the lyrics of this are just so, but it's poetry and it's about, I'm listening to hardstyle. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's a ballad and it's whatever. I think you're freaky, and I haven't listened to Diane Ward in a while. Okay, I don't know if they have some controversy or whatever, but I like that song. What's that? What do they do in Eastern Europe with the dance? Like Juiced does it a bunch. What am I talking about, dude? I don't have a good ear. It's something I'm trying to get better at. What do we want to say? Maybe that'll be like the intro to the show. I need to have that's what podcasts have, is like a little intro. If I were you. Yeah, but it's not been an eventful week for the D&D world. I gotta admit, I'm getting a little sick of magic. I had this a little bit later in my notes. I know it's not a magic podcast. I know. We'll get to it later. Whatever. But I think it's also because I played 5 games of D&D for a year and a half, like a week. I played 5 games a week, 5+ games a week, right? And now I'm down to like 2, which is still a lot for anybody. But I played 1 Pathfinder game, 1 D&D game, and I'm working on starting my Daggerheart game. I don't have this in the notes. Let's talk about that real quick. I've been reading through Daggerheart and the classes and everything. I'm sorry if I bumped the mic. All right. I've been reading through the classes, and one of the rogue archetypes is about knowing people and whatever. All the classes are super cool in Daggerheart, but this is the one that's really stuck out to me. It's about like knowing people and having connections and stuff like that. And there's stuff like that in D&D 5e. The problem is that it's a little hard to do that sometimes. I have a show I do called Chaos Theory with Mr. Shika Dance. Shout out Mr. Shika Dance. Or Shika Dance or whatever. So I know you're listening to this, so I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. But he's a good buddy of mine, Sean. And he has this great way of doing inspiration, and you should look it up. He has a video on it, Mr. Shigadance inspiration. Look that up right now. Watch that. And he has this cool thing where it's like you can know someone, and it's worked out really well in this actual play we've been doing called Chaos Theory. You should go check that out as well. And it's made like this really funny, cool character. I don't know if I can have a character based around that stuff, because there are even abilities this rogue has where someone will like show up and deflect bullets or like reduce damage or something. And I'm very interested in seeing how that plays out, because I think back to my last campaign, which we'll be talking about as well, and how I finished that up. There are so many places where it would have been a funny joke, but also just the verisimilitude. You're like, where would this person come from? We're in hell. Where would this person come from? And maybe if it was like ghosts or specters, and you can flavor it any way you'd like, and Daggerheart's very big in that. But I'm wondering if that joke will get old super quick, or if it will just work out. You know, I'm sure they play tested it a bunch. I'm super interested. I hope one of my players plays it so I can see how it goes. But I'm not a big rogue guy, so I don't know when I'll get around to doing something like that. But I'm super interested in reading the rest of Daggerheart and seeing all those rules. But if anyone has the book, they know I'm not that far in it. I've been playing too much Total War, Warhammer 3. I've just really been beating myself up lately. I've been playing Arena, and I've been playing Total War, Warhammer 3. And it's just doing a number on my psyche. It really is. I just feel like the dumbest person in the world. You ever play strategy games to try to get smarter? Has anyone ever tried to play, Balatro to try to get smarter in the world? Well, that's what I'm doing. Is I'm playing Total War Warhammer 3, just in case if I ever lead an army into the charge. With Arena, it makes a little bit more sense, right? I make sometimes Magic content, and I want to be a capable Magic player. But I play Total War Warhammer 3, and I'm like, well, I just want to get smarter about it. And, I just want to lead an army better. I've been playing the same battle for 4 hours, rematched 7 times. I don't know how to lead my units in. Thank you, someone in the comments last week recommended a channel for me to watch. And then it's just like, I just want to play the game. I don't want to watch videos on how to play the game, but I can't play the game because I'm so bad at it. I've been trying to make my own decks in Arena too. I don't get it. I have card draw, removal. I have creatures. And I just have, listen, for the Brian Kibblers of the world, for the great Magic, some players don't have that luck. And, well, actually, the mana system in Magic is really good because it helps with building a better deck. Yeah, for you, maybe. Actually, for you. I draw my 19th land in the row. I have 40 card draw. Land. Yeah, that's awesome. I play Hearthstone, and it's like levitating. I haven't played Hearthstone since it came out. But at least that mana system, is a little bit more consistent. Land. Or it's the other way around. No land. I'm turn 4. I have 1 land. Why'd you take a 1-land hand? I had Soul Ring. All right, whatever. I seriously though, it has kind of been doing a number on my psyche. I need to play. My girlfriend's been playing Stardew Valley. I think I'm going to need to start. I played a little bit of Peak and everything too. But also, trying to read through Daggerheart. I also started this book. It's like supposed to be a slice of life book. I was reading too much like fantasy. It took too much of a hold of my life. And I wanted like a little slice of life. So I'm reading like the traveling cat, the storyhood of the traveling cat with pants. What the fuck? It's some Japanese novel. And of course it's sad. I want to read a slice of life sad book, and I go sad, and I go, this is bumming me out. I need to cheer myself up by playing Total War Warhammer and MTG Arena for 7 hours. What is wrong with me, dude? Why am I beating myself up? But I saw Superman. That was super cool. That was a nice. I totally recommend it. I think it's a fun movie. I think it's fun. Lex Luthor, and these are my 9,000 rage monkeys that go on the internet. I go, those things are in my comments. No, as I'm literally, dude, I'm once again being hit with 5,000 comments about love, and I go, my 9,000 rage monkeys in my comments. Lex Luthor is out to get me. Meanwhile, they all hated me. Oh, we have news. We do have a little bit of news in the D&D world. This is not a breaking story. I said it like it was a breaking story. Oh my gosh, breaking story. So this comes from bring it up. This comes from wargamer.com. Former Halo exec takes over D&D, says it's moving to a full franchise model. Dungeons and Dragons has announced that it's shifting to a franchise model with Hasbro's former senior vice president of digital games, Dan Ayub. I hope I said that right. Leading the charge as the new head of D&D. Ayub shared news with a LinkedIn post on July 9th saying, "We shifted our structure internally and D&D moved to a full franchise model, meaning everything books, video games, film, and TV, everything touching the franchise lives under one roof. Whatever. And that could mean a lot of things. Here's my take. I think it's a whole lot of nothing. I think it's a whole lot of we'll have to wait and see. This is one of those things that I was talking about in my Dungeons and Dragons identity video. This is about the culture of D&D as opposed to the game. Books could mean anything, right? It could mean the new campaigns. It could mean all the supplemental books. It could mean the game, right? I don't think that's what this is. I think this means more of something like a lore book. I almost said Dragonlance books, but that's its own thing. But any like of the books that you've read that have just lore about Dungeons and Dragons, this is more of seems like that's what they're talking about. And there's a bunch of video games on the horizon for Dungeons and Dragons. Apparently, a Baldur's Gate 4, of course, not made by Larian Studios because it was just. They just didn't want to make another one. It's not that, we totally fumbled the bag with that. It's just going to be so disappointing. That's just going to be so disappointing. What if Baldur's Gate 4 was made by the same studio that made Cookin' Mama? I was thinking about that. I'd be like, everyone would be like, this is weird, but very refreshing. For those who don't know, including myself, Dan Ayub worked at 343. I think it was 343 at this point. No, because he started in Halo Reach. So here are some of his projects he's worked on before. Halo Reach, Defiant Map Pack, Noble Map Pack, Halo Waypoint, Halo Anniversary, Halo 4, Halo Master Chief Collection, Halo Wars 2, Halo 4. Oh, Halo 4? It only says Halo 4, Crimson Map Pack, Majestic Map Pack, and Castle Map Pack. This is coming from his LinkedIn, which is, public. You should look at that. How do I feel about that? I don't know. In other news, the old CEO of Wizards was also fired from Funko. I'm not going to speak on that much. That's like 40 degrees separated from this. I don't know what to say about that. I'm dumbfounded. What am I supposed to say about that? What do I think about this? A whole bunch of different things. It's a whole lot of nothing in the sense of the game, in my opinion. But we got to create the culture to get people into the game, right? I think Warhammer does a wonderful job of that. And consistency across the board isn't the worst thing in the world. We don't have the best track record of I'm sure there are plenty of people who read the D&D lore books, all right? Lore. I'm not talking about, listen, I don't want a single comment saying, well, I actually do read the supplement books. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the lore books, okay? I'm not fascinated by D&D lore. I think there's a lot more cool lore in Warhammer. I think there's a lot more, like the Phyrexian thing from Arena was very cool. I think the Spell Plague from 4th edition was a cool idea. But right now, it seems to be in this weird purgatory of whatever. Baldur's Gate campaign, story-wise, fine, right? Story structure, what the story is, the characters, things coming together, well done, ebbs and flows. I'm sure the script was up to here. And the floor's all the way down there, guys. Don't worry, I'm 6'2". I'm standing while doing this podcast. What I want to say is that maybe, right? Other than Mind Flayers, 2 Witches also, in my opinion, not interesting at all. There's not much cool lore in D&D. And they've tried to do stuff before where it was, the Harpers and the other factions, right? I don't even know what the other factions are off the top of my head. and you know, there was some kind of dynamic. Pick your house, pick your faction, whatever. And that's cool, right? But what do we have more than Gith Yankees and Mind Flayers? Well, we have the Beholder, we have this and that. I hope this guy comes in and adds the Flood to D&D. I want to see the Forerunners added to D&D. I want Cortana turning alien and telling Will from the Blade of Frontiers, Will, what are we doing? And then Master Chief comes up. Da, 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 da. That's what I want to see with this. Yeah, because that's how things work. The VP of Halo comes over and now everything's Halo. I've seen this great video online. I don't remember what it's called. Otherwise, I'd shout it out. But it was talking about Mass Effect and how Mass Effect was being done and then how Warhammer's IP was being done. And they were talking about, like, there's a bunch more stuff that comes out from Warhammer that sucks. But there's also a bunch of stuff. Whereas Mass Effect had nothing, right? Except 4 games, I think, at the time, or 3 games before Andromeda. And then Andromeda drops, and I think some books or whatever. And then it sucks, and it's like, well, that sucks. I only have 4 games, right? Meanwhile, Warhammer's like, 4,000 games. Here's what's Warhammer 40K, because there's 40,000 games. And yeah, 85% of them suck. But other times, they really do work. Mic check. We're back to doing mic checks again. And I listen, it's clearly that they're trying to franchise. They're doing a bunch of games. The movies might come back. That's total speculation. Tinfoil hat conspiracy. You know, maybe the show, maybe, you know, whatever's next, right? You know, I mean, there's the Magic the Gathering show and whatever, and everything's under one roof, and it's going to be, well, we need a good structure of good lore to get into, right? Is Vecna coming back? Is Vecna coming back again? Is that what we care about? Is Strahd, is the fog coming back into your room? There's 40 Strahd books where the fog comes. It's a Goosebumps series set in the world of Barovia. Well, actually, I think that's a great idea. What structure do we have for good lore, please? Well, Zach, actually, there was the 10th level spells, and then the spell plague, and then whatever. Yeah, and then that came to fruition doing what? And then that came doing what? Well, Volo is also... Volo... Come on, Volo. Well, Zach, we have, you know, these characters from this and that, and they're doing nothing, and they're stopping a dragon. What lore do we have that's cool? What is there? We're going to franchise everything under make lore. Make cool lore. I should put my PhD back up here. I'm a knighted PhD person. I'm trying to see if I said anything else previously, any other thoughts that I have. Is this part 2 of what it is for Wizards? Did we fire everyone under the roof so that we can add new people and do more stuff with it? Is the future of D&D video games and TVs? And I'm sure at some point Warhammer had the same thing. I'm saying all this stuff about Warhammer, but, you know, all the stuff around Warhammer, which I'm sure brings a lot of people into the game, right? But it's more about the culture of Warhammer. It's more about, you know, the books, the video games, the shows, the little mini animations, things like that. You know, I've never played the Warhammer TTRPG. I'll probably play it. I will play it on Tabletop Sim at some point. I want to play Orcs. Not that I like the Orcs that much. Favorite faction from Warhammer, for all those dying to know, I've only read Eisenhorn. So I think the Inquisitors are freaking awesome. I took, where is my copy of Eisenhorn? I think it's over there. But every one of those things where it's like, you have gone against the Imperium of Man. You shall now suffer 1,000. Super cool. I highlight all that stuff in my book. But that doesn't bring the stuff back to the video game, right? I'm an Astartes guy. I'm all for humanity, by the way. The Imperium, does it bring people into the game? Maybe not. And it's not to say that that's not going to happen with D&D. Plenty of people end up trying the game. And there's an easier window access to get into the game of D&D than there is for Warhammer. I will never play in-person Warhammer unless, that's how you know I've won the lottery, right? I don't like painting minis. I don't have time for it, and I just don't want to do it. It's not something I want to learn skillfully. Sorry, newsflash, I just don't want to do it, okay? But I'd love to play the game, and I love to play orcs. I love Bricky, dude. Have we talked about this? There's a YouTuber called Bricky, and he was on the show right after me on Skill Check, and man, had I wish I met him. But he got me into a lot of Warhammer lore, and he just makes cool video game content and everything. And I've seen him play. I came this close. Actually, I was gonna play Warhammer 40K, the tabletop version, and then I went to go buy my first mini, and I wasn't planning on. I just wanted minis to play the game, and I went to get one Inquisitor or whatever I saw, like whatever my first army was gonna be, $35. What's that one public access show? $5 million. I just stopped right there. One mini. Well, Zach, you can 3D print and whatever. Yeah, and keep it in my room and let the fumes fill up. Make it so that, I'm in boot camp. They got the spray where I'm in the, I'm crying, my snot's moving around. I die 14 days from now. Fill up 30 3D printers in the room. Well, Zach, you could 3D print it, and then you can shave them down, then you can paint them. That's cool. I don't want to do that. If I wanted to do that, I would have done it for D&D minis already, right? I had someone paint this. I had someone make this fistful of brushes. And I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. Please. But it's the thing where D&D, clearly Warhammer lore has brought people into the Warhammer game. And D&D, and that was a crazy barrier to entry. And D&D doesn't. You can play D&D anywhere. You can play D&D in jail. You can do anything, right? Subject, predicate. You can play Dungeons and Dragons anywhere, right? But the thing is who knows? Because I don't think we have the set lore. I don't think anything is cool enough in D&D for people to be like, this is neat. Well, Zach, Baldur's Gate. Yeah, well, I have my gripes with Baldur's Gate. Dude, when it comes to that. I wanted to talk about something a little bit. MTG alert. MTG alert. All my D&D fans go off. Yeah, D&D fans. 99% of my audience. But I wanted to talk about this because I just thought it was so funny. And this is why I'll never receive free cards in the mail. But I have a new pod. I moved, right? So I have a new commander pod. And it's me included. It's 3 people. Now I'm going to have 1,000 people be like, you can join my pod. I'd love to. And I can't. So, all right. Phase 1, we had one person play with us. It was me and my buddy who loves Magic. And this other guy who just likes hanging out with us, and we'll play Magic because we're playing Magic, and he kept losing. So we're like, we're going to lose this guy if we don't do something quick. So he runs the Eldrazi precon, very strong precon. And we just made it like tier 4. We were like, you need to win more because you need the itch. You need the itch to win the game. And I think it's working to some extent. But then we brought another buddy in, and he has the Kaisar precon from Fallout, which is also pretty good for a precon. And I was having so much fun. I was playing Zephyr the Awakener or whatever, blinking. And my first blink deck has like cats in it and stuff. And I look over and I'm having the most joyous time in the world. Finally, I get together and play with my friends. And I look over to my right and my buddy. It's like 1 a.m. Doesn't want to be there. I go, are you having fun? No, he doesn't. And it just occurred to me from all angles, right? It should be impossible to get anybody into this game. It should be impossible to get anyone into Magic. How did I get into Magic? There are 30,000 cards. There are a million rules. And there's a huge price barrier to entry. How am I supposed to convince this guy, right? That, spoiler, is a blue-collar worker, works 60 hours a week, wants to hang out with us, and all he wants to do is, like, play Smash and drink whores, right? And there's nothing wrong with that 2-drink limit. 2-drink limit. I know. I stick by my guns with that, whatever. And how am I supposed to convince this guy, right? That he on all fronts, what am I supposed to say to this person, right? He wants to, and it's not for everybody or whatever. I think this is why I like D&D more too. The experience of telling a story, the game is also cheaper, but the experience of telling the story is inherently human. I think there's not much convincing you need to tell someone a story, right? Or to have them be part of a story or whatever. There's a lot of people who play D&D and, they're there for combat and they kind of sit back for the role play and they, their job is to bring beer and chips. And that's fine. You can't do that with Magic, right? You have to be active and ask these questions and does this work? And then you always have one person at the table who just doesn't have like the social aptitude to be like, hey, maybe I should relax a little bit because this is the fourth time this person has played. Well, that's funny you say that, Zach. You were playing a blank deck to a new. How are they supposed to know what that means? Yeah, but I wasn't attacking him. I wasn't, whatever. It's 1:30 in the morning. I could have board wiped and won that game. And it's just like with D&D, it's literally so easy. Make whatever character you want. Do whatever, just show up. And with Magic, I'm trying to get people to play. And they're literally like, I don't want to do this. And then I go, what am I supposed to say to that? No, actually, it's actually a lot of fun after you spend $4,000 on it and learn the 70,000 rules. Listen, and that for everybody, I started playing Magic a year ago and it was like that, dude. I did the predictable thing of Cranko Mob Boss was my first commander. Everyone's out rolling their eyes. But what got me into it a lot was what got me into it. I shouldn't say a lot. What got me into it, because that means that's enough. It doesn't need to be emphasized more by saying a lot. My PhD right there. What I should say about that though is and now I can't think of anything. Why? I played, whatever. I won my first game, and I got everybody out in one turn. Not one turn, but I got everyone out in the same consecutive turn, like turn 4. And I was hooked. I loved it. But on all fronts, right? How am I supposed to convince someone to get into this game? I'm sure, I could not imagine being someone who likes Warhammer and has no one to play it with and being like, well, you can play Warhammer with me if you'd like. Oh, really? How do I get in that? Well, okay, buried entry is $700 million. Well, to get into it, actually, you need to refinance your house and ask your mother for all of her savings, and then we can get into it. And there's a ways around that. You buy a 3D printer. You can play on Spell Table. I misspoke. Tabletop Simulator, not Spell Table. And there's ways to get around that in Magic as well. Proxy. So yeah, I just thought I was just kind of dumbfounded because I always thought, Magic and D&D and they're right there and whatever, but getting someone to play D&D is a million times easier to get someone to play Magic, and I just didn't know how to react to that, whatever. I wanted to talk a little bit about my campaign that I just finished. Did it for a year with some great players and great friends, and it was awesome. I loved writing the story. And it was like 40 different genres, but it started very noir, heavy, slow jazz, but then also like big band jazz, and things would get going. And it was like mystery and very like Mistborn one where there's 1,000 secrets. There's a secret around another corner. And it was super cool. And this is our boss of the game. This is a little show and tell. This is. Let me see if I can. I'm trying. It is a little fragile. This is Sharata. This is the boss of the game. I think it's Hebrew for regret. I have a lot of Christian like themes and story in the D&D games I play, so there was some stuff about that, whatever. But yeah, that was Fistful of Brushes and then Plague Miniatures. I bought all of that stuff and I commissioned the guy, so no sponsors, no nothing. Just thought the mini was cool, and it was great. And I just want to be real with everyone for just a little bit and say I give a lot of advice for D&D, and I've been playing D&D for 12 years, and I've DM'd most of that time, and for these last like 2-3 years, I've been playing like D&D nonstop, probably 5 times a day. 5 times a day is insane. 5 times a week, which is also still insane. And I want you to know, even though my answers to you guys' questions are objective, they are 100% correct. There is nothing wrong with them, and there's no margin for error when I give you guys an answer. It's still difficult. I find myself, I have a lot of, definitive answers where, tell a person no, give them a crybaby point, make them piss their pants, put them in the corner, put a dunce hat on them. The thing is there are still situations that I'm just so blindsided on that come out of nowhere, that I'm just like, wow, that even I have a problem navigating. And it was a lot of fun. And I want to continue to have big tables. So I played with 6 players than myself. And that's a relatively large table for, I think, optimally 4 players for a D&D game. And I think maybe that would have helped a little bit with what I had been doing in that campaign and the pains that came from that. But I want to get better at doing that just in case, right? I need to run something that, so I'm a better DM. I can manage 6 players, 6 backstories, 6 whatever. And one of the biggest things that occurred to me was my opinion on backstories has changed a little bit. And I'm going to sound a little bit like an old head. I'm going to sound a little bit like an old school revivalist. And for those who don't know, if you're into the OSR and whatever, old school revival is just like playing more basic Dungeons and Dragons, but like revamped. So there's newer ways to play the old school revival. And it's just kind of like, D&D 5e is a little too overpowered, a little too like, people like the dungeon crawls, the meat grinders. They love all of that stuff in Dungeons and Dragons. And one of the big things that we've been talking about in the podcast has been, that a lot of people think backstories are, a lot of like older players think backstories are a little too emphasized on in new D&D. It's like if you get too attached to your character and they die, and then it's a little too big. It makes it so that they play too cautiously. It makes it so that these players don't have fun in the game. It's more serious than it should be. And I'm not saying that for these reasons, that I think my opinions on backstory has changed. The reason I'm saying that it has changed is that I ran into a few obstacles where my players cared more about their backstory than anything that had been going on in the main story. And I would say I typically don't find anything wrong with that, but I do. In my heart of hearts, I do find it. When you work on a backstory, and this is different for everyone, right? Maybe you have your 14-year-old OC. Not 14. You've been working on your OC for 14 years. But the problem I really ran into was people were like, and this was multiple players on my table, because I know some of my old players do listen to this podcast. And they went into it knowing that I'm a content creator and I would talk about it. And, it's not like I'm behind their back talking about it in public. And, but there were multiple players where it was just like, if X happens and X resolves in my backstory, I'm done with the campaign, with this character. And I'm not a huge fan of that. I work on outlines, and I pretty much have this huge outline for the entire campaign. I take inspiration from people's backstories and I integrate them into the main story. And, I'm a big believer in like, wow, this guy has plot armor. Aaron Yeager has plot armor. It's his story. What are you talking about, plot armor for anybody? I'm not a big fan of plot armor, because the reason you're seeing this story through this person's lens is because they've survived long enough to tell this story. Well, maybe it's not this and this other, and it's through this person's lens and the group's lens, and maybe it's not even about that, and you can't say narratively that's what works in D&D. But, if I work harder on my main plot than you do for your backstory. Sorry, because your backstory happened. Your backstory, and I'm the one who has to make it evolve and turn into something and whatever. And then, well, when this happens, I'm out. My character's out, and they're going to stay and do this, and I think that's narratively satisfying and whatever. I don't. I don't at all, actually. I had a lot of plans for you, and now you've created problems for me writing my game because you think it's narratively, good for your character to be done with whatever. And I don't care about any of the stakes anywhere else in the entire game. My backstory is the biggest thing. If my character comes across anything in their backstory, that is what they're going to care. I don't care if literally a serpent is creating a fissure between hell and earth, and it impacts the entire world. My backstory is more important than that. Because then you got to think, right? You got to think, what exactly, how do I make the stakes in this game, right? How do I make the stakes for you to keep going? But it comes from your stubbornness out of having your backstory. This is a collaborative storytelling. This is all collaborative, right? I'm integrating your backstory into my quest up until it's my backstory. Then it's not. Then it's my thing, right? And we talk about the spotlight a lot in Daggerheart and stuff. Whose story is it to be told at what spot, right? But it seems like all of that goes away the second well, my character wouldn't do this. Okay, well then I will write you out of my campaign, right? Well, my character won't. If this is what happens, and the only thing motivating him is this: the world is on fire. Everything is exploding. You are humanity's last-ditch efforts. What other stakes do you need? How else can I escalate this story to make it so that you're interested in it? And then for you to say something like, my character wouldn't care about something like this. Well, then make a character that does, or get off my table, dude. I and all the OSR people are like, yes, their 9,000 rage monkeys are writing comments. Lex Luthor's like, yes. I'm sorry. I don't care enough about I don't care as much about your backstory as my main story, because I'm putting so much more effort into my main story than your backstory. And sorry, you can have your opinions. It's rude. And in my opinion, disrespectful to be like, my character would not care about this in the story because they only care about this thing with their backstory. But it's because it was so bad. It was so bad. The world, billions. There is no more stakes. Whatever bad thing happened to your backstory, this thing is worse. This thing that's happening right now is going to destroy the world, right? And it's just like, Zach, my players aren't motivated. My players aren't motivated, and I'm having a really hard time getting it so that they are motivated to play my story. What do I do? And I say, make the stakes higher. And then my own players go, well, my character wouldn't. My backstory is more important. No, it's not, dude. No, it's, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to possibly do? We're signing this social contract and we're putting it in. I grab it and I integrate I add your pantheon to my world and move, the entire atmosphere and aesthetic of my world to fit it. And then I do all of that. And then what do I get? Well, my character wouldn't care about this main story because of, get off my table, dude. This is ridiculous. Grab the confetti cannon. Blow it in her face. And that was, as a man with all the answers, the man behind the curtain, that was super hard to navigate. And, clearly I've moved past it. It doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't put a bad taste in my mouth to run my next campaign. But yeah, I understand, you worked hard on your backstory. I'm sure you wrote 2 whole pages of it, right? But guess what? Like, I have to work just a teensy-weensy little bit harder to integrate it. And I got to work, and I got to make, the main story and then work with 5 other people's backstories. But yours is what's, that's the one we have to worry about. We got to stop everything else. And then at the end of the day, right, I get told, well, my character wouldn't care about this. Yeah, they wouldn't, but they care about this. And I atomize them like Watchmen. I atomize them. Yeah, would your character care about this? I've been roaming around. And it's just like, what do I do? Well, Zach, tell him no. Hard cuts with different resolutions that I've given. But it happens to all of us. It happens to even like the smartest, most veteran D&D players and whatever else. Well, my character wouldn't care about that. Really? Split atom by atom. So, trust me, I have all the answers, but I still deal with a lot of these problems, right? So, it's just, yeah. I understand there's different play styles and things like that. But man, it was a little disheartening to have that. So, anyways, the campaign was awesome. The final boss was going into it was just one monster. It was like I've always given like the Banjo-Kazooie thing, like Grim Tilda was messing with you the whole game. Ip Man won. The guy was messing with him the entire movie. And then he just like, it was very cathartic. They beat up the bad guy, and out of the original people, like only one person lived. So, which is crazy. That was the dice, not me. That was the dice. Yeah. So I'll be talking more about the campaign as things goes on and questions come up and everything like that. And who knows, maybe I'll take what I did from the campaign and make, like I said, I want to make that audio drama and I kind of want to make a pilot first, see how people receive it, see how much, how well the production is, which I'm hoping to be pretty high. So, but it would be totally audio, like no video. So hence audio drama. Why am I saying this? Okay, we have questions, bazinga. That's going to be like the transition noise. Dear Zach the Gold, I know that I'm in the minority here. I'm sure most DMs, sorry, I'm going to save this one for the last, actually. I know what's coming up in this question. I'm saving it for last. Hello, Zach. Love from Italy. I write to you as a newbie DM for question about the world I created. I created a world a year ago, and I found myself adding stuff. I added various regions and characters and an entire pantheon of gods, and when I finished, I found myself with what I can describe as a slop world. Samurais, cowboys, ancient Greece, a steampunk part, and even a place where body mods are all the rage. And technology evolved to let people that have a neck long 75 miles and 4 arms. This was done for the love of using whatever I found on Pinterest and giving the most variated amount of enemies and situations I can come up with, almost like my playground. Now, I understand it's a bad world because political balance is kept together with duct tape and prayers, and some technology should have immigrated to other parts of the world, but with some rules I made up, they didn't. Now, the thing is that I love with this world and what I can create is create in it. Okay, sorry. Now, the thing that I love is that this. Let me be very clear. All right, as I'm reading this, I am correcting the grammar. So this is not my. Now, the thing is that I love this world and what I can create in it. My ugly child. There was one comma in that entire sentence. Okay, maybe I'm just stupid, whatever. I watched your other episodes of the podcast, and you always say that you should run what you like, and although bad, I like the possibilities of it. You think I should start from scratch? You think I should start from scratch and make a new world when I want to play with someone, or to make a serious campaign? Or if I like this, I should be proud of my deformed baby and just roll with it. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Yeah, restart. What? No, dude. It's literally that meme. Wow, this thing sucks, and it's the hot dog on a skateboard. Coolest thing in the world. Zach, I have cowboys and samurais and all this technology and steampunk and dragons and coolest thing in the world. Should I restart? No. Well, the politics don't make sense, and technology. If we think about trade routes and the silk caravans of the world, and who cares, dude? Who cares? Your players aren't going to worry about, exports, imports, tariffs, whatever else. Well, there's too many cyber cowboys and samurais and, big monsters, and it's just too cool. Do I restart? I haven't worked on the analytics of the world. That wouldn't make sense. Who cares? Oh my God, play your world. And to me, this screams of like, and I just want to say this as a content creator that, shows their art and shows your work and whatever. Don't restart, because you're going to restart again. Well, I've toned it down, and now I only have Nordic gods, and I made 4 pantheons, and I have 1 or 2 cyber ninjas, but I don't know if the price of fruit at the market exchange is correct. It wouldn't be for this climate. What are you talking about? Who cares? You make this cool world, just make it. You think they care about that? And Well, Zach, my players came in and they were like, well, the topography of this area just doesn't make the fruit market of this world doesn't match the top. Who cares? Make your world. It's your fun thing. Should I restart? No, is my advice. If you want to, no, I'm going to say no. No, do not restart your world because you'll never get it done. Guys, I have a session planned in 1 month. Comes to like 2 days beforehand. I'm going to have to pull it off. I'm going to have to push it off. Guys, I have too many kaijus in my world. There's too many awesome elements in my world. I got to restart. I got to. Because bananas, they only grow in a warm climate, right? So it wouldn't make sense that, who cares? Yes, play this world. Do not restart it. And I would do a little bit of searching inside of yourself to be like, what is truly making me put this back, right? And does that reflect in other areas of my life? I do want to say, if there's any psychologists or anything like that that watch my channel, don't study me. All right, that's just a little. Someone said something in the comments, like stop studying me. All right. Anyways, all right, I'm back to the stupid freaking person one. So, I think this is a great question. Hello, Zachary. Hello. Do you hate Find Familiar as much as I do? It's very annoying when players try to cheese this spell to its absolute limits. I've had players try to cast their familiar through doors because the area beyond the door is an unoccupied space within range, and then proceed to use the familiar to scout the entire dungeon while the rest of the table has to stick around and wait for the all clear. It's annoying to narrate a dungeon this way because it easily sucks all the mystique out of a dungeon or a POI, place of interest. I only know that because of 7 Days to Die. Also, I need to explain what the familiar sees to the familiar's player, but since the party isn't physically there, I need to repeat myself when the players actually show up in the room, or else they lose any semblance of discovery and surprise. I'd rather have the party themselves explore the dungeon, not the wizard's bird, so I plan on banning that spell for future games. What do you think? And then he just out of nowhere says, also Dark Vision sucks, and I plan on banning that for similar reasons. Thanks and congrats on fulfilling every nerd's dream of playing with Critical Role. We live vicariously through you. Thank you. I appreciate the question. Also, questions at BoldTakes@outlook.com. Don't make fun of the email. I got 80 questions. Please send more. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I want to get through a lot of them. I've played Wizard in particular so little throughout my time as a D&D player, and you would think, like, Zach, you've been playing D&D for 12 years, you would want a class that is so versatile, that comes with the spells and all the customization and everything like that. And let's walk through the cycle of playing a wizard. So level 1 through 5, you have 2-3 spells that you will hold on to until you find the boss, but there'll be 7 long rests before then. So every time you go to a long rest, you still have spell slots left over, and you're always left with, I could have used these. And that's a real awesome feeling. So you're flinging Firebolt, 1d10 for 5 levels. So I don't want to hear one thing where the wizard is more versatile when you're flinging Firebolt for the first 5 levels. Up until you get, the funny spell. You get the Fireball. It's really nice to have AoE spells that isn't, Thunder Wave or Burning Hands or whatever. And you do that for a little bit, and then that's all you do, right? Up until you reach about level 9, 10 range, and you get 6th and 7th level spells. And then you're hit with the same thing for the rest of the time that you're playing Wizard, which is Legendary Resistance. And for anyone who plays Wizard or is a Wizard main, knows that playing Wizard means that you're occasionally casting AoE spells and then Firebolt 99% of the time. Because you hit Legendary Resistance, and any spell that you could possibly take out any boss or anything like that isn't what your DM wants to happen. So they're going to say Legendary Resistance, and that is even if they don't pass their save, which if it's a boss, they most likely will in the first place. So you spend 5 rounds casting your 6th level spells, your 5th level spells, your 4th level spells that try to banish, that try to make it so that you can, you can get rid of the boss, confuse them, that you can, Crown of Madness, and it never works. And so what are you left with? 0 spell slots and rolling 2d10 for Firebolt. And that's all it is. And then you make it to tier 3. You make it to 10 to 15. And what that looks like is you cast a spell, your DM stops for a second, everyone at the table goes, oh my God, that's a good thing. You cast Force Cage or something like that. And then your DM goes, hey, I didn't know that was a spell. And I didn't plan for that. And this is like a big boss. Invisible, invisible, when no one hears your name. Hideo Kojima. Absolute centipede, absolute masterpiece. You get to the big boss, and you know, he's like, I'm sorry, you can't Force Cage, or they'll planar shift out of it. Well, I took action economy. Yeah, and then guess what? You have 0 spell slots. You do Fireball, and then you roll 3d10 for Firebolt, and that's the life of a wizard. The entire time until you get to tier 15 to 10, where you're not playing. Not because the wizard can't do anything from those tiers. It's because no one plays that tier. All right, because you're an insane person if you're playing 15 to 20. I love tier 4 combat, and I think it's fun and whatever, but you're going to run into the same thing. Legend lore, banned, wish, no. You can't ruin my world, sorry. All this, Force Cage, banned. Or I'll just give every boss that I have plane shift or whatever it's called. And then guess what you're doing? You're rolling 4d10s with Firebolt, right? That's the life of a wizard. That's what it is to be a wizard. That is, and this is different D&D than I play, but I have like played Dungeon Crawl, D&D, Adventures League, shout out to Adventures League, whatever. And yeah, Scrying Eye, any familiar just ruins the whole thing. I don't blame you if you ban it from your table. Well, I'm a wizard. I can barely do anything. Yeah, you made the sandwich. You picked the class. Like, come on. Yeah, sorry. I don't want you to go through your entire... Well, it can die. Yeah, and then you resummon it, and then it looks through, and then, I have a bat flying around as if no one would react to that, and then your players get mad about it. And then it translates to real life. Next thing you know, you're in the drunk tank again, with an assault and battery charge against one of your players because someone didn't listen to the 2-drink limit. And it's just reasons like this. I don't play the wizard, right? I like barbarian. I like versatile classes like a champion fighter, or I just roll 1d20 for, that's the life of a champion fighter. You roll 1d20. And then when you get to level 20, you do that 4 times. And that's it. And you might crit a little bit more. This is just such the life of a wizard. This is the life of a spellcasting, the most versatile class. Yeah, that makes every other class boring. That makes every other class, well, what did the bird see? Now, if you're playing a hunter and you have beast companion and stuff, make rules for that, right? If your wizard wants to have a bird, be like, hey, that bird will die if it goes out and, whatever. Well, I can always resummon it. No, you can't. Actually, no, you can't. Actually, I forgot. I'm the DM. Oh, I'm the DM. Actually, no, can't. So this is just a random thing that just came into my head. I want to talk about this a little bit. Where the thing about a good balanced fight, right? I've been having this problem lately of like, what is a good balanced fight in D&D? Is it any fight that you can have a long rest after and you survive? Honestly, really, right? I've had fights that go down to 1 HP, one person standing, and then they beat the guy. Maybe by coincidence, maybe by, a good dice roll, which I guess is coincidence. Well, by definition, Zach, I don't care. I do not care. I went to college. I'm sorry. I hate people that do say that. I will track that from the. Take it off the record. What is a good balanced D&D fight? Right? Is it a full dungeon? We can't look at balanced fights. We got to look at the endurance of a full dungeon. We got to look at. Because in any world, a DM can say if you survive the fight, it was balanced. An unbalanced fight is when you get TPK'd, and therefore, if you get TPK'd, Clearly, it has not worked. What is a balanced fight in the world of D&D? If you have one person who lives with 1 HP, is that balanced? They lived. People sometimes say that's the best fight. When they come down and there's 1 HP and the monster goes down last second, and it looks like all hope was lost. The thing is about that type of fight is that this is the world of my sleeper cell keyword just went off and I stopped there for a second. This is the world of like, you have, sure, 1 player lived and 4 other players were sitting around for 3 rounds because they were down, right? And maybe they were stalling and cheesing the fight and whatever. Is that a balanced fight? Is it a balanced fight if you feel like everything is against you and you feel like it's a downhill battle the whole time? Is that a balanced fight? What is a balanced D&D fight? Is it maybe it's not about balance? If that's a balanced fight where no matter what you win, right, that's a balanced fight, then maybe it's about making the fight more interesting. Or maybe that's something else entirely. What is D&D's identity? What is a good fight in D&D? What is a balanced fight? Is that a fun fight if one person lives for 4 rounds and everyone else is on their phone? And it was a nail biter and a teeth clencher and a knee slapper. Is that a good fight? As a player who was the first one down, didn't feel like it, but we lived. So it's got to be balanced, right? That's been something I've been tackling for a little bit. And I think it just does come down to, making your fight more interesting. Your fight being more interesting is more important than the fight being balanced in a way, and how you describe it and what things happen and whatever. So I think that's what I've been battling that. I've been thinking when sometimes I sit in the corner of my room and I just look at the wall and I think I look like that guy from, I can't think of anything. I'm disconnected from the Wi-Fi. I'm disconnected from the modem, dude. I have a random question. What time are we at? About an hour. We keep on trucking, ladies and gentlemen. Dear Mr. Bold, I'm pretty new to DMing because some of my friends wanted to try D&D. They had a lot of free time and wanted to try something new. I've played D&D before, so I have the most experience out of all of them with D&D, so I was the clear choice to be DM. I decided since I was a new DM and they were new players, I would do Dragon of Ice-Spired Peak for our campaign and get them used to the world of D&D. Dragon of Ice-Spired Peak is the first thing from the Essentials kit from the 5th edition, so takes place in Phandalin, same place as Lost Mines of Fendelver, and then that absolute garbage expansion after that one. I don't even want to. After about a month or so of getting everyone already prepped, they started to complain about it, saying I was taking too much time. So I finished it up and said we could start. There was an entire month of none of us being able to find time to play. I took this time to add things to the campaign that I thought would be cool and fun. I went to my local game store to pick up some miniatures, and I found a nice Mimic Outhouse mini. Right as I'm checking out, one of my players that was going to be in my game walks in, sees the mini, and says, I know what that's for. I know what that's for. Did you know it is totally 100% legal for that person to go missing after he says something like that in Minecraft, in Roblox? Your Honor, in Minecraft. Cut to about a month later. Dude, this is like the worst person. I know what that's for. How do I take your head and I show you how an ostrich does it, dude? Cut to about a month later, and we started the campaign, and we were a little ways into the story, and they had just come upon a new town to restock. And while I was describing this town, I said in my description that there was an outhouse. Without hesitation, the player that saw me buy the mini stood up, pointed at me, and said, "Oh!" He stood up. I know what that's for. After he said that, all my players guessed that it was a mimic, and I took away a lot from their first encounter with one. I feel like this first encounter with a mimic should be terrifying and dreadful. Yeah, it's an outhouse. That's kind of funny. My first mimic encounter was being put in a raggedy cabin, then hearing a loud heartbeat and realized it was a mimic that could have that had already eaten me. Sorry, I got to reread this. My first mimic encounter was being put in a raggedy cab. Oh, so he's saying, not for his game, the DM saying for himself when he first got into a mimic. My first mimic encounter was being put into a raggedy cabin, then hearing a loud heartbeat and realized it was a mimic that had already eaten me and I had to get out before I was digested. Super cool. I also had some other issues. I had a video about that, like that. I also had some other issues with this player before. During character creation, he said he wanted to be a rat. I asked him if he was something special, if it was some special rat or some kind of were-rat. He said he wanted to be a regular rat with nothing special. Okay, before I keep reading this, I just want to tell you, this guy sucks. This guy sucks. And he tries so hard to be funny, and he sucks. Okay, if you need validation, if that's why you're messaging me here, if that's why you've emailed BoldTakes.outlook.com, if that's what that is, well, here's your validation. This guy sucks, and he's trying too hard to be funny. I know what that is. Shut up, dude. How about you stop ruining it for other players? He sits down. He hits his friend to his right. You see that? It could be a mimic. Dude's next to him's like, yeah, I guess. You're fuming. I spent $50 on this mini. I know what that is. Can I be a rat? I just want to be a little rat. You're the worst. You're the worst, and I've dealt with you 1,000,000 times before. You're not funny. Please, for the love of God. What do we not get about comedy in the world of D&D? That like serious world, right? And like a funny present, like a funny thing happening in that serious world. If you're a rat, right, and that's the funny thing, how old that gets old so quick because you're literally making this world not realistic. You're making the world not, grounded. That's the ebbs and flows of comedy in a lot of D&D, right? You have like a lot of things, and it's like funny. That's the funny thing is you have like a serious world and an unserious moment. But if you're just a little rat, I know what that is. Oh my God. Here's your validation. All right. This is the worst kind of player, and I don't like him. He eventually became a chaotic evil wizard. I'm about to punch my laptop. I'm about to disconnect. I'm about to get a cabin in the middle of the woods and just cut myself off from society. He eventually became a chaotic evil wizard so he could actually do something, but then slowly over time he sucks. Get him off your table. Listen, sometimes you just got to be upfront. You just got to say it. Hey, dude, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little sick of this. I know what that's for. How do you know this person? Do they even, who invited this guy? You're like 40 years old. That's a Smiling Friends reference. Sorry, hold on. He eventually do something, but then he slowly over time turned into a murder hobo and wanted to kill all the important characters in my story. Kill a bartender because they gave him a dirty look, or kill livestock because they were there. Dude, I'm getting my blood boiling just listening to this. After a bit of time, I gotta be honest, I didn't read this part. After a bit of time, I was fed up with his actions, so I told him he needed to stop it. He looked at me like he understood what I was saying, said okay, and we carried on our way. But later that session, as the party was going on, their final trek to go kill the dragon, the same player, I forgot you're playing Dragon of Icespire Peak, so I should know what this is. That session, that party was the final trek to go kill the dragon. The same player stood up and said that he'd been pulling the strings the whole time and told me he wanted to kill the entire party. Never invite this guy again. And every DM who's been DMing for more than 5 years goes, yep, he was in my first party too. He was in my first game too. Get him out and never, before this, and he wanted to kill the entire. Before this, he had never talked to me about it or confronted me, so I looked him dead in the eye. Dude, if you're at Gen Con, I want to meet you. If you wrote this question, I want to meet you. Get your tickets now. Free tickets. And said, no, sorry, pardon my French. He gave me a look like I had done something wrong because he didn't want to play anymore. It is now present day, and we haven't played since. Good. Zach, this has effect. This player is one of my good friends. And a nice guy. Whenever we play D&D, he just turns into a psychopathic demon. No, he turns annoying. All right? He's turns annoying, and he's trying to... What would be your advice on this? Continue without him? Yes. Yes! What? Continue without him? Do I just play without him? He's nice everywhere else? Yes, dude. Yes. You can play without this man, dude. Zach, what do I do? He's a good friend of mine and whatever. Well, tell him that, it's just so, this is the environment we've made. I can't help but take some responsibility on the end of short form creators making murder hobos funny. The funny murder hobo. The funny guy who, TPK's the party and the funny guy. The ripples in the water, Oppenheimer. I'm looking down. Do you think we've made the most No, because they've been around since the dawn of time. There's a reason that we've had, people like that. And, it's just what I do. Continue without him? Yes. Yes, he's like clearly a problem player. He can show up, but he has to wear the dunce hat. And, he has to, he's got to wear the dunce hat. He can't talk during the table, and he has to bring snacks, and everyone can eat them except him. Sorry if this went on too long. I love this question. This really reinvigorated, something I haven't been dealing with. I have players too entrenched in their own story. This person's just trying to ruin everything. From your biggest boulder. Well, thank you, my biggest boulder. Listen, every DM, every new DM, every old DM will deal with someone like this, right? You talk to them, you tell them they're being a problem. If they can't, if they can't change, you got to talk to your players, who I guarantee you, with every fiber of my body, is like, this person is not fun to play with, and I'm a little sick of it. They get all defensive. My character would do, I'm chaotic evil, I'm chaotic. How about you're a chaotic bozo, dude? How about you're a chaotic bozo, okay? And get off my table, all right? Everyone's looking at him like the SpongeBob. Oh, brother, this guy stinks. Yeah, this is a tale as old as time. Might as well be the Odyssey of, this is of D&D players. This is something everyone's gone with. My camera's about to die. I'll be right back. I was charging the monitors. If I look this way, by the way, if you've noticed I've been looking this way, it's because this is where the monitor is. I should have put it closer. I need to build a better rig for my camera anyways. Actually, I didn't even need to add. I should have just put on top. Whatever. I was charging the batteries for the monitor, and I didn't charge the batteries for the camera. And, I didn't think it was at 30%, and I thought that would last, an hour and a half. Clearly not. Anyways, thank you for writing in. This is a universal story. I'm sure I've hit something like this literally 4 episodes ago. It's a tale as old as time. Do not invite him back. And yeah. Finally, to wrap up our show, we have one more question, and then I'll go into some of our outros. I wasn't originally going to answer this because it's so obvious rage bait, stupid. But I thought there are new people who are just listening to the newer episodes, the cleaner episodes, the more polished in HD episodes. I thought that I would talk about this. So let's get into it. Dear Zach the Gold, I know that I'm in the minority here. I'm for sure most DMs use milestone leveling because it allows them to control the pace of progression, and it is much easier than fiddly XP math. Yeah, that's why we don't run XP. It's because of the math, right? It's because of the stupid, complicated math of yeah, that's why. However, experience points give my players instant gratification, something tangible to show for each session. It is a quantifiable way to measure your progress and achievements from one session to the next. Oh, brother. Let me just get through it. And let me say, no, let me not get through it. Well, Zach, XP's so much better because it gives my players instant gratification. Why don't you jingle keys in front of their face? Why don't you have, you play Rain Bet Blackjack and Subway Surfers at the same time? Well, Zach, it's just instant gratification. Yeah, your players are asking you, how much XP did you have instead of how the story's going. They're not... Well, Zach, it's instant gratification from them. Yeah? Do you want to have a roulette spinner in the middle of your table too? Move the map out of the way. You guys can start betting in the middle. Instant gratification. Is that what this is to you? Instant gratification to your players? How about instead of, my players don't ask me, right? Did we level up? They do ask me that. But they don't ask me, how much experience did we get? Oh my gosh, we're so close to leveling up. Instead, they're talking about the story, the narrative. Oh my God, Zach, I use XP because my players are so bored out of their mind. I have to instantly gratify them with XP. Dude, I have Family Guy clips playing behind me. Okay, wow. In the one place where we can ground everybody in the age of technology, well, I give them XP because it's better because it's instant gratification. They don't have to ask me when they level like that. They're still going to ask you, dude. Well, Let's go to the next part. And let me say, if you are just giving out XP for combat, you're doing it wrong. If you are just giving out for XP for gold pieces, you're doing it wrong, and you're weird. I give out XP for overcoming traps, taking on social challenges, solving puzzles, good roleplay, and yes, of course, combat. I've never thought of that in my entire life. Oh my God, somebody please get this guy to the CEO of Wizards. Someone please get him to write the next book. Please, I beg you. I hear this argument all the time. It's like an argument that people make. It's a non-argument to another argument that doesn't exist. Well, if you just give out XP for combat, is there a trap here? Should I socially engage with this person so I can level up? Should I be more involved with this person in the story so I can level up? I should go out and fight. I don't want to go on with the story. Are there any other henchmen I can go around and beat up for XP? Yeah, that's how I want to play D&D. Instead of listening to the story or, caring about narrative or, my players being motivated by the fact that they're involved in something that makes them inherently human, I want them to, go and interact so they get little fake points so they can level up and do, they can swing, in 4 more levels, they get 1 more attack. But I do it the intellectual way. Zach, you've also been to college. Zach, I make it so that when they interact with a trap, they also get XP. If they have good roleplay, they get XP. Zach, I know your thing is arbitrary. I know milestone is arbitrary. Luckily with XP, so is mine. Mine is also so arbitrary. And they have these books, and there's like milestone books, but also XP, and then they end up at the same place. Well, your thing's arbitrary, but also guess what? Mine's better because it is also arbitrary. That's awesome. I'm so glad. That's what I want to be in. That's what I want to be. I want to be motivated by fake numbers, and I want to be motivated by instant gratification in my D&D game. I don't care about the narrative or the story or what makes D&D so cool and fun. I want to do good role play because I get fake points. I get fake little D&D points, and if I get enough of them, I get to level 9 monk. I get to walk on water. Isn't that cool? Oh, I just can't wait for my next session. I'll get more fake internet points. Using experience points incentivizes players to take up side quests, perform social challenges, and yes, of course, engage in more combat. Yeah, because that's what I want, is more just random combat. That's what I want to do, is I want to wait all week to play Dungeons and Dragons, and then what do? We do a dungeon crawl, and it's the same 4 enemies, and we can't get on with it because this guy who's, wants to be a rat, just like a regular rat, wants to go into every room and get fake points, and he's interacting with these goblins, and my DM's like, he's shaking keys and has rain bets on, and that's how I want to play D&D, is just to have it like a little slot machine. And I'm motivated by fake points to get to a fake level, so that's what motivates me. That's why I want to play D&D, right? And obviously, XP is not, this is underlined, the only incentive here. DMs have a huge array of narrative tools to engage players and foster enjoyment. So this is not, okay. I'm just saying that XP is merely one of those many tools, one that should not be overlooked. During our sessions, I see my players getting excited, adding up their XP. Oh, do you? Yeah, dude, once you put Family Guy clips and bets, once you guys start betting on inspiration, that'll be really fun. Oh, are they getting excited when they add up XP? Oh my gosh, I'm seeing how close they are to the next level. And they never ask me, did we level up? Because they have fake points to track it. And he goes, okay, now yell at me. What a joke email this was. And it's the same stupid XP argument I've heard every time. Because I hear about this and I go, yeah, this dude's game sucks. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be in it. I don't want to be in a game that runs XP. And I've seen it and I've played in it. And it's the same thing, how much XP did we get? My players don't ask me, did we level up after every session? But after every combat, they ask me how much XP did we get? After every social interaction, they ask me how much XP did we get? Yeah, instead of asking every time we play a session, they do it after the most minute little detail. Do they get XP for walking? Oh my God, did they describe how to walk better? Oh, well, it's like this little currency. And it's not that. There's also narrative things that you can do. What argument is that? Well, it's not the only thing. There's also the story and stuff. I mean, my players don't give a rat's ass about it, but like, there's also the story, They clearly just want fake numbers, a little made up. And I hear this every time, and then it's like, well, you've never played with XP. Yeah, I have, and it sucks. And the stories always suck, and it's not about that, and it's always just about playing. It's just like, I might as well be playing Total War Warhammer at that point. I might as well be playing Baldur's Gate 3 at that point. You know? That's why D&D is so popular. It's because it's like, because you get fake internet points. I keep saying internet points because of the Reddit. Fake internet karma. You just keep getting fake, XP points. And that's their argument always. Well, they don't ask me. And also, it's not just, it's about social challenges and this and that. Yeah, let me add another mechanic to the game for no reason to motivate my players to care about, leveling up more than I do about making a good story. Sorry, your game sucks and I don't want to play in it. Let's go to some tippers from the last comments. I'm sweating. It is boiling hot in this room. Awesome. I'm so glad I got an office. I'm shining. Axoloodle with the 5 says D&D Germa. Sorry, I'm legally obligated. Sorry, I'm being bad at reading. Sorry, I'm legally obligated to say that. Seriously though, so glad the podcast is back. I'm in a bit of a spicy pickle. I'm running D&D for some friends. We were all college freshmen at the time, by the way, and we were about to head into a huge boss fight that I had built, and then finals hit in the past 4 months. Nobody has had time to play. We're starting up again late August, and I want your advice how to revitalize this dried out little sponge of a campaign. The players are looking forward to it. I just want to make sure I can get people back into it and have had a good time. Also, you do not look like Chef Skinner. If I cloned you a couple thousand times and released you into the wild, nobody in your species would look like that in 5 million years. Love everything you do. Keep it up. In terms of D&D content, you are Dr. Pepper and a world full of Sprite. Big Dr. Pepper guy myself. Also, that's the best diet soda, and zero sugar is Dr. Pepper. Diet Baja Blast sucks. I hate it. It sucks. Anyways, let's get back to this question. Yeah, a couple ways you can go about this. You can do like a little mini thing at the beginning of your session, playing as, this is like a totally weird random thing, but at the beginning of the session, play civilians that are going up against monsters in your world, and then have your heroes as NPCs save them. And it's this cool little like outward look to see, one, how strong your characters are and how civilians see them, and it's like cool to have something. It's like refreshing. They play like something. I sometimes grab like, little low CR creatures they can play and whatever. And it's cool. It gives a little cool perspective. And then it like reminds them. It's just a nice way to get the gears flowing, and have a really good, with music, with lighting, rip a box mod vape and blow it across the table. And then that's the ambience. And have them and just do a really, really good recap is what I'd say. So that's what I'd say, because that happens to me all the time. It happens to a lot of people. That's just a little thing, a fun thing I like to do. $5 from your very best friend 1263 says, mentally picturing the Super Mario 64 teleporting sound effects as X turns invisible and reappears every time. Says, let me be clear. Thank you for the 5. That's really funny. I can totally see that. $5 from Nat 67737. Is that Leet? No. Happy the podcast is back. Couldn't have come back at a better time. Just recently participated in my first ever session, and I had a lot of fun, but I was wondering if you have any tips for role-playing. My interest in D&D came from the story aspect of it. Are you sure it's not from little imaginary points and keys being jingled in your face? I ended up getting super nervous, and even though all my friends said it was okay and I was doing fine, I felt like I did a really weak job. So if you have any advice at all for getting into the role-play aspect of D&D or even just calming the nerves, I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, it's not a big deal. You're playing with friends. It's a safe environment. Don't worry about how good you do. Don't worry about the good one-liners. Don't worry about the creative things to say. Just have fun with it. You look at Jon Snow in Game of Thrones, and not everything he says is a quippy one-liner that can be written in whatever. Just be serious. Just be I shouldn't say be serious, but like have fun with it. It's not a challenge. You're not, acting for anybody. You're involving yourself in the story, and like be the one to harness the environment to make the environment of it is safe and cool and fun to do this. And clearly your friend said it was okay and you're your harshest critic, and just know it's just like it is serious in the way of you're trying to have fun, but it's not as serious as, you don't need to have nerves about it. It's not a performance. It's a fun game, and people have been doing this since the beginning of time and talking around a campfire and telling stories. And, I I think that if you harbor I've said that 4 different times, 4 different ways. But if you want to make a comfortable space for people to role play and stuff, like this doesn't have to start with you, but it's also just like get into it. And people are like, oh yeah, this is the game. Like your fellow players shouldn't be saying anything, and clearly they're very supportive. So you're your biggest critic. You're not acting. You're role playing. You're having fun. It's not you're not performing for anyone. It's say what your character would say and have fun with it and be involved. And it's not that serious. It's not that serious in the sense of anyone's critiquing you or anything like that. So have fun with it. Thank you guys for stopping in. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your week. More to come, as always. Hopefully what I was working on a couple of weeks ago comes out soon. My next collaboration, which would be super cool. And lastly, if you want to check out link in the description for Gen Con, presenting Scorched Base in a system agnostic setting by Zach the Bold and more. If you want to meet me at Gen Con, make sure to grab your tickets. Link in the description, Friday at 4 p.m. Send in your questions to BoldTakes@outlook.com. If you want to help support the channel, you can always send a little comment that will be read at the end of the channel. Sorry, at the end of the video, end of the podcast on YouTube. I will see your donations there. Sorry, Spotify listeners, it's not on Spotify yet. It's because we are moving. Spotify now allows full videos and stuff on Spotify, so I'm working with my management to get those over there. So it's going to be a little bit slower until we get over that. But as always, thank you so much for watching, listening. Send your questions in at BoldTakes@outlook.com. And I hope you have a great week. And thank you for stopping by. Bye.